presentation of a PLC plan for Anston Middle School. So the professional benefits of having a PLC is that we are goal-oriented, we focus on student achievement, and that we focus on our effective teaching strategies that need to be implemented in every classroom. And we're talking about a technology-enhanced program, because now Anston Middle School has the benefit of going one-to-one. And we're also going to offer professional development hours, possibly for this PLC, that will continue on throughout the year. So our current plan, we have a school mission statement, but each individual PLC did not have a mission statement for their group. There was reports from talking with Ms. Garrick of lack of data discussion really going on and being really as in-depth as she was wanting us to go into that direction. More or less, a lot of the times we were talking about ideas for our classroom, and we were focusing on student behaviors versus academic achievement. So the proposed PLC plan would be a provided set agenda for each meeting. We would have enriching PD throughout the year. So we're going to talk about how we're going to accomplish that. We would establish goal setting, and we would assess our progress throughout the year. So our meeting information, we would actually use, since we're going one-to-one and everyone has Chromebooks now, we would go to a Google Classroom format. Ms. Garrett would be our supervising teacher over that format. And we would have a required PD article, just a brief article, 4 to 7 pages to read. And then we're going to write discussion posts. I mean, everyone's used to doing social media, so why not tap into those skills when everyone gives their opinions? Then, as professionals, we would go back and respond to each other and use this as an educational forum where we can make sure that we are addressing the needs of those students. And then we would have a face-to-face meeting as well. There would be a required meeting, and for example, I said 7 a.m. Of course, not everyone can meet at 7 a.m. because Ms. Garrick is one person. So, she would set forth, when our required face-to-face meetings would be so that she could attend, her or Mr. Howard. We would also still at those meetings have a preset agenda. Here's what you need to cover during these meetings, and we would have the main focus is going to be on student achievement. And that would meet every 2 weeks. So at the first meeting, we would establish an in-service, the member duties, and there would be different duties for each member of the PLC. So you might have someone who's in charge of the recording, someone who's in charge of the data presentation. I assume that any group that I'm a part of, they're probably gonna be like, all right, data queen, you've got the data. I'll do the recording and the turning in to Ms. Garrett, okay? I'm leading the discussion, and another person might say, I'm gonna lead the discussion as to where we need to go with this after we've broken down the data, what we need to do to reach those students. And we would be leading by example on that. So our schedule would be in August, we would have an evolving stage. There's actually 3 stages to this. Get the ball rolling would be establishing our teams, our goals, our norms, and begin with common ground as having one article that all PLCs actually read and respond to. Then we would go into the development stage, which is September. We would do an article review and a reflection from that. And we would be gathering our new data from when the kids have came in. So for this presentation, I said STAR because we know that that's going to give us the instructional best practices for those kids, the goals that we need to orient for those children. And then we would go to the growing stage, which is October through December. We would be focusing on teaching strategies, article reflection, our attainment of our goals, and addressing our weaknesses and strengths for our kids in our classroom. What are we doing each day? And then we go into the sustaining stage, which is January through May. How are we sustaining best practices and student achievement throughout the school year? Because that's got to be our main focus all year. So this is something we're going into. And at the end of the year, we would go ahead and start our goal setting for the next year. So the monthly focus is in August, we would do establishing a PLC. September would be based on student achievement, and October would be on our teaching strategies. What are we doing in the classroom? November, we would be looking at whether do we remediate or retain students. You know, who needs, you know, some extra help? What are we needing to do to refer maybe that student for special ed testing, those things. December, we're talking about student-teacher relationships for achievement. So now we've had them a whole semester, so now we're going to sit down with our kids and talk about where they've gotten to and where they need to go. January, we're going to regain our focus. February, we're going to prepare for testing. March, we're going to hit it hard, student achievement. April, we're going ahead and looking at remediate or retain issues. And then in May, goal setting for the next year. So we'll have some professional development articles. We'll have the ABCs of the PLC would be kind of what we would start with. It's a very short article, but it's just kind of giving teachers an idea. We would share this, give them an idea of what we're wanting to see as a PLC here at Anston Middle. And then in September, as you can see, there's always an article about PLCs, and there's an article about student achievement tied to it. You know, and so how do those interrelate, and how can we focus on student achievement? Then in September, it would be data is our GPS. You like this, Ms. Garrett? It's cute, ain't it? Cute little girl. Mm-hmm. And then we would go into an urban school district, doing the challenges and strategies for success for our kids. Like I said, all these articles are 4 to 7 pages, and as a professional, I don't really feel as though that's really a whole lot to ask someone to read, to reflect on what they're doing as teaching practices. In November, we're talking about the culture. In December, we're talking about our learning community and how it's growing. Okay, this is not, though this is something that I'm doing for this coursework, this is something that will be ongoing. You know, this will be year 1, we'll have year 2, year 3, it will continue to grow as we continue to grow as a staff. So in January and February, this kind of just gives you an idea of what the articles are. I have already reached out for copyright approval for us to have these articles to share amongst our faculty. So those steps have already been put in place. So to assess our selves throughout the year, we would actually be looking at our STAR data, and of course we are always testing, you know, an end of the 9 weeks, a mid 9 weeks, so that would just be a simple way for us to continue to look at that data. You know, are we addressing those student needs? And then the data for the teachers would be an article is posted, and then within 10 days, we ask you to read the article and post to the discussion board. And then we converse on the discussion board. Then we have in writing that discussions have happened, and it's an easy printout, and we can hold on to that. And there's a twofold benefit to this, because we are going one-to-one, and we have teachers who are just now getting used to Chromebooks and Google Classroom. This is allowing them to use it as the student sees it. You see what I'm saying? So then now they can address how they want to do it in their classroom as well. Student data presentations would be every 9 weeks and during a face-to-face meeting. And then we would continue doing accountability, effectiveness, and offering PD credits. And that's it. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you for presenting. You've done?
I'll cut it off.